Weston Mckennie is a name that continues to come up a lot on this show, was recently named Player of the Month for Juventus in the month of January. McKinney has had a great season so far, but really just a good month of January. 3 goals over the course of 7 matches in the month. And this is a player that really, Ryan, the club has tried to, I guess in no short terms, try to get rid of for 3 straight summers. And he just so happens to now, in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would second this, be the best player on the team. And obviously, we've seen the high praise that has come for Weston McKennie out of Juventus and his skill set and his versatility. And I know we had that ridiculous conversation not long ago about, well, could he be a striker for the U.S. men's national team? Obviously, not his natural position, but I think sometimes we just see the flashes of greatness with how he's able to play forward and create opportunities and generate chances for Juventus. So I think, maybe as just from an American perspective, I think, well, could he be a number 9? Is that something we could maybe try him in? It's obviously too close to the World Cup to think about something like that. But what is your takeaway from what we've seen out of Weston McKennie? And I know there was a comment recently dropped in one of our videos talking about his importance on the U.S. men's national team. And maybe our priorities should change a little bit. We always want to say that Christian Pulisic is obviously our guy. He is the player that needs to go out and generate and do everything, but maybe McKennie takes the spot as the most important player on that U.S. men's national team. All in all, just a really good month for Weston.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, look at these numbers. Third on the team in goals in all competitions, 6.
Yeah.
He's up there in terms of assists, 4. He's third. He's tied for third with the most chances created per 90 with just over 1 a game. 83% pass completion and wins 45% of his duels per 90. FOTMOB rating of 7.14 for the whole season, and that's one of the better ones on the team. Is he the best player on Juventus? I mean, I don't see why not. I don't see why he's not the best player on Juventus. I mean, he's been great all year long, scores in big spots, and a team that has struggled in Serie A, which a team that typically hasn't. At least they dominated in the 2010s and have struggled in recent years. Is he the best player on the team? I think so. But if we go to the USA discussion of is he more important than Christian Pulisic? No. He's not. I still think Pulisic is still the most important. I know a lot of people say, well, did we started winning some games without him? Yeah, that's true. But if I look at Pulisic, to me he is still the trailblazer of this whole country of making a way for all these young Americans. And we just saw a couple days ago a couple 17, 18-year-olds that will be moving from the MLS to Europe this summer. They already have their contracts in place, and they'll be moving over into Europe. And there's so many Americans that are playing in top flights. There's been 25 that have played. If Alex Freeman plays, there'll be 25 Americans that have played in top flight divisions in the year of 2025 to 2026, that whole season. And McKennie, I think he's a wonderful player. We gotta have him. I think we just need both. I think we need to move from this discussion of who is more important for this team. Who's more important?
Yeah.
We need them all. We ultimately need them all. And I look at Pulisic, and it's like, if he's out there, that is eyeballs shift to him. Whether that is the media, whether that's the opposing team, or whether that's the USA of how do we get Christian the ball. I mean, look at the most important goals. He scored against Iran, got us into the round of 16. If he scores against the other ones, it's a different story with the game. We look at the Nations League, when that really seemed like the most important win of the generation for that current generation of beating Mexico in the Nations League. Who steps up to take that PK? Pulisic does. When I look at Weston McKennie, I think of a guy that we ultimately need. He's a phenomenal player. Can we score? How do you win things? You find goals in the midfield, and that's what Weston McKennie's doing, and we need him. Him and Tyler Adams together, I think, are really good, and you put Weston McKennie, kind of that guy to piss a little bit of people off, have that little bit of edge, because ultimately I don't think Pulisic is a player that wants to get in the face of other players. Weston can. We kind of talk about what are the Red Wings lacking, and they're lacking that kind of like that toughness, that little bit of grit in the gray areas. Weston McKennie can do that. He wins so many of the duels. He does a lot of that dirty work, and I think they're both really good in their respective ways, and I think we need to change the conversation of not who's the more important, but we actually need both of them. And I think both of those players are really good at their respective roles and positions.
I understand why people get bothered with the media sometimes, and this is
Yeah.
probably one of those reasons because we love pitting one player against another. It's even if they're on the same team. Oftentimes if they're two really good influential players, it's like, well, who matters more in this equation? Who matters more to winning? The only way that we ever make any progress in the 26 World Cup or put this nation in a position to really actually go out and win a couple of knockout games or get as close as humanly possible to the World Cup, maybe without winning it, is we need every single one of these pieces to fit like a puzzle. That's exactly what we need. I don't that's the part where I think we go a little bit too far with this conversation. Weston McKennie has been amazing in the position that he's in. He's shown flashes of greatness. He's been great on a Juventus team that, as you've talked about, has struggled. Does that make him a superstar in the European game? No, not necessarily, but it's a sign that he is healthy, he is motivated, he's doing the things that he needs to do. And so great. That's another puzzle piece that fits in this equation of the US men's national team. But when we start to get into that, that other side of things, which again, going back to why people don't like the media, because we like narratives and we like to create narratives. And so this narrative that, okay, he's had a good run with Juventus. Now, not only should we talk about, is he the most important player? Like, forget Christian Pulisic, he's off to the side over here, but also could he be our striker? Could we completely change everything because one player has had a really good run? It makes us as American soccer fans, if we start to lean into that side of things, just seem almost anxious in a way, like we're trying to grasp for straws. And because as soon as one good thing or one really good stretch happens, now we have to switch everything around. I mean, I was feeling the same way about Josh Sargent when the season began. I'm like, boom, really good start. He's our guy. Like, he should be our guy. And then he goes out and lays an egg for the men's national team. And now obviously we have all this drama between Norwich City and him wanting to go home to Toronto and everything else along those lines. So we need it all to fit together, to your point, like a puzzle. I just think it's interesting when people bring up that kind of question because, is he more influential than anybody else? No, I wouldn't say. I just think if Weston McKennie fills his role the way that he's doing it right now with Juventus, then yeah, we have a pretty damn good chance of doing something coming up in the World Cup. But I just, at the end of the day, I just like talking about what he's doing because I do think Weston McKennie has really implemented himself. And I'd say the best two performing Americans from the club ranks this year, at least in terms of goal scorers, Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic. And right now they're both tearing up Serie A. Obviously, AC Milan having a lot more success as a team, but it's nice to see those two doing what they're doing.
Yeah, we got a comment from YouTube. Schrock Media 2720. He says,
Schrocky,
uh, he said
what's up, buddy?
there are different types of leaders. You need a variety on teams. The vocal, by example, relational, and more. I it it I wonder if Pulisic really is a lead by example leader now. Like, I would say before the summer of 2025, I would say yes. But what he did
Yeah.
this summer, I don't necessarily know if he's a lead by example guy because ultimately how he started everything in Europe, but the way he was bitching all summer, I don't really know if that's a
Yeah.
lead by example guy. I would say McKennie seems like more of a vocal leader, seems more of like a rah rah guy. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing or anything because some people think that is a bad thing, but I'm not saying it's bad. But I think they both lead in a variety of ways. I would say they both have different leadership styles. Again, we're not in the locker room. We don't know any of the relationships. We don't know the people personally. But looking from the outside, looking in, that's what it feels like to us, at least to me.
Yeah. Shout out Luke Schrock, by the way. It's my
Okay.
my best friend over there. He works, yeah, he's down in South Bend. He works at Drive and Shine. Used to be the SID at Bethel University, so I used to do soccer games there. So shout out Schrocky for getting involved in the conversation. Yeah, I think Pulisic. It was by default that Pulisic kind of became the face of American soccer because of his skill set and his rise to prominence and how quickly it kind of became he was the guy. I mean, I think about when the U.S. obviously couldn't get into the World Cup in 2018. He was just an 18-year-old kid on that team. So he was kind of the face of that new next up generation after the Clint Dempseys and the Landon Donovans. of US men's soccer. So because of that, because of his skill set, because of what he can do on the pitch, he was made to be the guy, which means he had to be the leader. But Christian Pulisic, if you know anything about him, which I've never met the guy personally, but at least from what I've seen in documentaries and what I've read and what I've heard from his teammates, he's not a vocal leader. He's not the
No.
one. If there was a skirmish on the pitch, I would hope that it would be everybody kind of bunched up, taking care of that situation, and then Pulisic not really involved in it, just kind of off to the side. And I don't take
Yeah.
that as Pulisic's not for his guys. I just take that as, we got to protect them, kind of like a quarterback, kind of like the best player on the field. And I think that's more the mentality of this US men's national team, is just because he is so valuable with what he can do on the pitch. He doesn't need to be the rah-rah guy. We got rah-rah guys. I think Chris Richards is that. I think Weston McKennie is that. I think Tyler Adams can be that. Pulisic just has to be Pulisic, and he has to play like Pulisic. And if he does, then we have a better chance.
Yeah.
So that's all I'll say about that.
Like, I look at Messi, and again, not comparing Pulisic to Messi, but Messi is
Yeah.
a lead by example type of leader as well,
Yeah.
because you see the aura that this guy has with the team sitting in the tunnel, and they're like, let's just wait for Messi real quick to come out and lead us. And again, Messi, like, he's always protected by all of his teammates, and it feels like that's the way for the U.S. It just, I find it hard to wrap my head around based off of this past summer, and that didn't seem very lead by example leadership
Yeah.
to me. So that's the only
Right.
thing where I kind of hesitate to say Pulisic is a lead by example guy, just based off of solely what I saw this summer, because that's not what a leader does. You don't make a documentary about you just bitching to the media, and then Tim Weah gets in on it and all that. Like,
Yeah, everyone's being unfair.
but
Yeah, all that
but at the
stuff.
same
Yeah,
time,
exactly.
I think Pulisic needs to embrace that he's the face of USA soccer. He needs to embrace this role, because everyone's looking up to you, my man. Like,
Yeah.
young kids are looking up to
Yeah.
you. The team's looking up to you. I mean,
It's like
everybody.
it reminds me of like the person who became famous who never wanted to be famous. They just wanted to lead a normal life. They're like, I just want everybody to leave me alone. I just want to show
Yeah,
up and
yeah.
play and go home. But it's like, dude, you can't. Unfortunately, you can't. That's not something you can do, especially when you're from this country.